Welcome to the Liberty Lighthouse podcast. I am your host, Trevor.
And I am your host, Patrick.
Alright, so we have a variety of topics today that range from random political BS to more depressing legislation that we normally cover. So, I guess Patrick, start right off.
Alrighty, so we're going to start with the Boy Scouts' decision to allow girls. And from what it seems, yes, they're keeping the name the Boy Scouts, even though it's apparently the Boy and Girl Scouts. So it is happening at the beginning of 2018, and so we have a statement from the Girl Scouts leader, in which they said, "The Boy Scouts house is on fire. Instead of addressing systematic issues of continuing sexual assault, financial mismanagement, and deficient programming, BSA senior management wants to add an accelerant to the house fire by recruiting girls." In which my response to that statement is savage.
Yeah, wow, man. Dude, they hit back hard. I didn't know they said that. Ooh.
And which, of course, in their letter, they had to include the fact that BSA membership in 2016, they had 2.3 million members, in which 2012 they had 2.8, and it's been declining since 1972 when their peak membership was 6.5 million. So they are less than half of what they were a couple decades ago. So, Trevor.
Yes.
What is your opinion on the Boy Scouts adding girls?
Well, first of all, they have every right to do this. Of course, it's, again, sort of a property rights issue. And we both agree with that. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. But overall, I mean, is Boy Scouts in the name? I mean, that kind of indicates it should be for boys. But I want to point out, Girl Scouts doesn't do nearly as much cool stuff as the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts, we were out in nature all the time. The Girl Scouts, all you really know about them are kind of selling cookies.
Those are excellent cookies.
Well, they are great cookies. But overall, I kind of wish the Girl Scouts would just reform so they could do all the cool stuff that the Boy Scouts do.
That's actually something that they've been trying to do within the last couple of years. But truthfully, it just takes a while. I mean, they've kind of been, decades of just doing things like sewing and, all that sort of stuff, the stereotypically girl stuff. They have been working, though, to add more wilderness survival, the stuff that Boy Scouts do. They've been trying to add more of that at the request of Girl Scouts, who want to get more of that experience. Another thing that the Boy Scouts said that a large reason of their choices is that because of the fact that families are so busy nowadays, trying to make activities where you can send both a brother and a sister, so they have that to go with. But even then, I mean, as a former Boy Scout, it just seems like this is not going to bode well, because then you have all these camps. I mean, there's so much infrastructure. Like, there are entire campgrounds. A lot of campgrounds that I went to as a Boy Scout was Boy Scout campgrounds, specifically for Boy Scouts, resident camps, things like that. And their facilities are entirely geared towards boys. They're going to have to set up, a girls' side of the camp, because they're still a religious organization.
Right.
I think. I mean,
well,
they're not really
acting
in that.
We're not going to get into that.
They were, or at least a religious organization. And so they're going to have now a Boy Scout of the camp. They're going to have a girl side of the camp. They're going to have to add more, facilities. And they're going to have to try and get on more female scout leaders. They're probably going to have to add more supervision. Because, when I went to, resident camp, which was one of my favorite things to go to as a Boy Scout, a week-long camp, you had little to no supervision at times. And that was part of it, because you're supposed to try and be independent. You cooked for yourself. You went and you did activities that were just led by, if you were a tenderfoot, you would maybe just go to merit badge activities where the only person in charge there was just a life scout, who was only 15, 16, leading an activity for 12 years old, and there was no adults around. And because of the fact that everybody was trained for first aid, stuff like that, they didn't really need adults around. And now you have girls and boys, and so you're gonna have to have more supervision, and I think that's gonna take away a lot of the fun, in my opinion, of Boy Scouts.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. It's, I don't know, I don't really find this to be a super big issue. I mean, I agree with you because I mean I was very briefly in. So I want to say I was in Cub Scouts. I'm not sure I was in Boy Scouts, but I had a lot of fun doing a lot of that stuff, and I think that sort of stuff should be open to girls. I mean, it's typical survival stuff,
and that's why I absolutely believe that girls
right.
should be losing. I think the Girl Scouts are what they need to be going to need to do this, and if they're going to be losing membership left and right, then they're not going to have maybe enough time to be able to reform. And then there is the statement by, surprisingly, the Girl Scouts were generally considered a more liberal organization. And this is an actual statement from the Girl Scouts organization. The benefit of a single-gender environment has been well documented by educators, scholars, other girl and youth serving organizations, and the Girl Scouts and their families. Girl Scouts offers a one-of-a-kind experience for girls with a program tailored specifically to their unique developmental needs. And that's completely true. These are, especially when you're younger in Boy Scouts, being able to spend time with boys and girls being able to spend time with girls. I've always kind of thought that had a place, and I think the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts were an absolute, a perfect example of why it's nice to be able to have a environment, especially, imagine this. One of the things that I always thought about Boy Scouts when I was in it, and unfortunately I had to leave because I had to get a job and all that stuff, and I had band, but it was the fact that, it wasn't like a program where you had to think about this. You're going to be 12 to 14 years old, and you're just developing, you're hitting puberty, and you're able to go out and camp with just the guys and be able to have fun. And now you got boys are boys, and they're going to, now they're going to have to focus about what the girls are thinking of them and stuff like that. And it's going to make an experience where they're supposed to be able to just kind of let go and be able to have fun and learn cool survival skills. Dad, it's middle school drama to that mix.
Right. What I think you'll probably see out of this is you'll see probably some sort of split within the organization where someone's probably going to go off and make another boys only thing. That's my guess of what's going to happen.
There is something like that, and except it's just Boy Scouts are a religious organization, but this organization, I can't remember what it is, and they did do it though, and it's really religious. Boy Scouts were a religious organization, but you mainly went out and learned survival skills, and these people, they go out on campouts, but they spend half the time in Bible study.
Well, that's my guess of what's going to happen, probably. And that it's probably for the better, too, because, I get Boy Scouts trying to make the move. I think they have much more issues they need to be worrying about than...
lady said, the financial, the sexual assault, things like that.
I think that they have much more to worry about, but in the end, it's their decision, whatever. I think the Girl Scouts made a lot of great points, and I totally agree with them. But I think you'll start to see
people want to stay there.
Yeah, I think you'll start to see a bit of a culture shift in multiple organizations that'll end up appeasing everybody in the situation.
It's a shame. It really is. I thought the Boy Scouts has always been a great organization, but as of late, they've kind of been disappointing me.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they also mentioned is, thankfully, troops are going to be able to choose whether or not to allow girls in it. So honestly, I feel like our local troops in this area are definitely not going to let that fly.
Yeah, we're a little conservative in these neck of the woods.
Which is why, we had this camp out. I wasn't able to go in it because by the time I left, because they had to be 16 or older with a certain... But they went out to what's called Manitou Island in Michigan, which is just this complete barren wasteland practically of nobody's out there, and so it's considered a extreme camping trip because you're pretty much on an island with no emergency support. No, it's just abandoned island, and it was it's that stuff like that is going to be you're gonna have to. I don't know whether or not they're going to continue to be able to do Boy Scouts are going to be able to do as extreme things, but some of these Boy Scout troops are definitely not living up to their awesomeness that could be. So Trevor, what's your story, or do you have anything left on the Boy Scout story?
No, I actually pretty much got all my thoughts out. It's a pretty straightforward thought. The private organizations who will do what private organizations want to do. Next, what we're gonna cover is something that comes out of our great state of Michigan.
Woo!
But only I was a little more is something that kind of angered me about it.
Oh.
Michigan State Senator Patrick Kolbeck was removed from his committee and subcommittees by the state Senate Majority Leader Arlen Meekhoff. Kolbeck called Meekhoff's actions a petty political response. And this is going to get so much deeper than, all right, he's just taking someone off. But pretty much Kolbeck is running for governor as an outsider. He's a Tea Party Republican, very conservative. He's obviously not the establishment pick, because I'm guessing we're going to have two establishment guys with Bill Schuette and Brian Calley running.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's probably, Kolbeck, that is probably the most outsider, the biggest outsider that has a shot. So pretty much Meekhoff was asked about Kolbeck running for governor, and he actually responded, "Who?" I mean, okay, you have to be stupid. I really dislike Meekhoff. I'm okay with Tom Leonard. I really dislike Meekhoff. It's kind of speculated that the reason Kolbeck was removed is because Kolbeck went to a Right to Life dinner in Meekhoff's home district and did not tell him. I mean, that's just how petty this thing is.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, and more background on Kolbeck. He supported Ted Cruz during the primaries, but ultimately was a pretty strong Trump supporter. Actually, he still goes around doing different events for Trump around Michigan.
That's a shame.
He's an overall good guy. I mean, we have policy disagreements, but I like him. There's actually a statement that I found that Kolbeck said. He said, "There are people pushing agendas right now that have nothing to do with the best interests of the people, and he is beholden to those people. So what upsets Meekhoff more than anything is somebody who's going to come in there, shake the trees, and reestablish the citizens of Michigan as the priority." That's a pretty strong statement. I mean, Kolbeck is normally a very reserved, kind person. That sounds like an angry statement toward a person that went right against this is the issue with like establishment Republican politics. They screw outsiders so hard. I'm hoping more people like Patrick Kolbeck come out against them and make it more public and fight a good fight, pretty much.
John James. So what was Meekhoff's stated reasoning for doing so?
Meekhoff's his actual office did not respond to anything that I saw. So the office himself did not give any sort of response.
So you can just apparently remove someone from committees in Lansing and not have to, give any reason why.
Yeah, pretty much. That's Lansing is a frustrating place to work.
I mean, you got, a guy that poisons his own citizens.
Oh, Snyder. But, I mean, do you have any opinion on this, or?
I mean, it's just, it's frustrating. I mean, Patrick Kolbeck is a guy who I knew was someone who was constantly going to be screwed over by the establishment because of the fact that he is someone who likes to oppose. He's someone who really speaks his mind. He holds his morals, and we all know Lansing doesn't like the idea of someone who actually has morals.
Yeah, that's an understatement right there.
And so it doesn't surprise me, but it's definitely frustrating. But I'm hoping that shenanigans like this will hopefully be able to bring the media to Patrick Kolbeck. So is Meekhoff is he like stated that he's running for governor, or is that still up in the air? Do you think he is?
I want to say I saw something from Kolbeck again somewhere in the Detroit News that he hit him he was considering a run at it and then decided not to, and this is again sort of Meekhoff being salty about not pretty much being successful. So it's. Yeah, I'm just so angered by the entire situation.
I mean, we already got quite a few. So who do we have running for governor? Because this is a good
right
time
now
to
declared. I believe Jim Hines, which is some doctor from the east side of the state, Patrick Colbeck, which we're talking about, and then Bill Schuette.
And Callie.
I don't believe Callie's actually officially announced anything, but I expect him to hop in very soon.
I mean, he's touring the state right now on the Callie hometown tour.
No, this is a little bit off topic, but Callie angered me because he went for this whole clean legislature thing. Did you hear about that? Like,
No.
going to part-time legislature.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty much like an unofficial campaign. And I think that's illegal. I want to say that's illegal, but he's going around and I'm going to push for this, I'm going to push for that, and he's just created all sorts of messes. And it's so funny because he's such an establishment guy, but because Snyder was so awful and how just extremely disliked the current administration is because of the crisis in Flint.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a joke. He's trying to separate himself so much, and then Rick Snyder, in response, pretty much turned into a Democrat, and a really crappy Democrat at that, so...
I mean, I feel like that, truthfully, Rick Snyder is just irrelevant at this point. Like, yeah, he's the governor of the state.
He was considered to be the 2012 vice president? Did you know that?
For what? Oh, for Romney?
Yeah, he was on the short list.
So yeah,
look how much his future changed in that
Yeah,
little bit.
I think poisoning your citizens is generally something that makes you unpopular.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking it up right now just about Brian Calley, and they said Calley is planning a series of more than a dozen town hall meetings, beginning in Detroit and Grand Rapids in October and November before he makes a final decision on a run for governor. So he's definitely someone that he's gonna run for governor.
Well, and I think in the aspect of things, or I'm not sure that's the right word, but anyway, it helps people like Colbeck if you were to hop in the race, because that's going to split your establishment vote, and that'll help propel people like Colbeck up to the front. And I'm really looking forward to this primary.
And then you
season.
also have someone who is gaining a lot of popularity right now, Todd Schleicher.
He's an independent, right?
Yeah, but he's doing really well for an independent. He's doing like Bernie Sanders well, except he's not a liberal.
Okay.
He's kind of more moderate. He's kind of like what's that guy's name? No one cares about him. The governor of Ohio.
Oh,
John
Kasich.
Kasich.
If you're the John Kasich type, I don't like him.
Yeah, but he's doing really well, and then of course there's who, again, I'm supporting Colbeck for governor, but I really think Gretchen Whitmer's gonna win it.
I would love to see a debate stage between Colbeck and Whitmer.
I think
if
that Colbeck wins the primaries, then hopefully, but
I think anyone other than Colbeck loses, and because Bill Schuette, he's relatively unpopular among among the general. Among Republicans, he's a strong candidate,
but
and then no one likes Calley.
Which honestly, because of the fact that Bill Schuette is so popular among establishment conservatives, but so unpopular with the general population, I have a feeling that we're going to see Bill Schuette as the Republican, then
lose in the general.
Oh yeah. Gretchen Whitmer has. And she's kind of Bernie Sanders style, kind of democratic socialist, and she has the and she's also very populist, kind of like Trump and Bernie, which made them so popular with grassroots, and that's why she is just there are other Democrats running for governor, but you can talk about Colbeck, Schuette, Calley, when you talk about the Republican field, there's so many, but there's other people running for Democrat also, but it's so overshadowed by Gretchen. She is so huge right now.
The only one I'd heard of was there's some gentleman, I believe he's aiming to be the first Muslim governor. I don't even know his name, which goes to show you how just kind of set the Democratic.
She's pretty much right now, and the Michigan Democrat Party is also pushing for her pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much, the Michigan Democrat Party is doing what the National Democrat Party should have done and gone with the popular candidate. And so that's why, again, I don't like Whitmer, but I think she's going to win the governor, and I think the Senate is going to go Republican, the Senate vote in Michigan, which we're going to be able to talk about a lot more in the upcoming episodes, which I'm looking forward to.
For sure.
John James. Okay, alrighty. So what's your... Oh, wait, no, it's my story. I totally just hijacked your start. So, in more depressing entertainment news, Harvey Weinstein.
What a garbage human being.
I feel like that's a good way to start off this segment.
I mean, there's nothing else I feel like saying about him besides just garbage, and I hope he goes to prison for a very, 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 very long time to live out the rest of his miserable, despicable, abusive life.
So, if you guys do not know what's going on with Harvey Weinstein, basically, he is one of the largest people in Hollywood. I mean, this guy is massive. If you've ever heard of Miramax, if you've ever heard of the Weinstein Co., some movies he's worked on has included A Few Good Men, Django Unchained, Pulp Fiction, Silver Linings Playbook, the Spy Kids movies. That is just a few of them.
And those are popular movies. I've seen most of those.
He's won 300 Oscar awards collectively across his career. So he is just, to understand why this is such a big story, he is massive. Oh, yeah. In fact, as we're recording this episode, about an hour ago, he got booted from the Academy Awards.
Yeah, I heard something about that. And see, I'm not a big entertainment person, but like if I'm hearing about it, it has to be serious.
Yeah, the Academy Awards, as in the Oscars. Yeah. He is no longer a part of that association. And so basically, he had the pattern, practically. He would invite a young actress or staffer saying he wanted to meet about their career. They would meet at a hotel. They would think that like they're meeting at, like a conference room or something there. And he would say, go up to his personal room. Someone would say that. He would get there and he would be starting to like ask them for massages, massaging them, ask them to watch him shower.
I don't want to get too graphic with this, just because he got weird.
Yeah, and the thing is, and what's so interesting about it is that it wasn't just like a straight up rape, like you would expect. It was all just like massages, stuff like that, things that.
Didn't Brad Pitt like threaten to give him like a Missouri whooping or something? Because he did something like with one of his partners, I think.
So actually, that's the interesting thing. I was gonna wait to get into that, but we'll talk about it now. That's the thing, is that he did do it with one of Brad Pitt's stuff, but Brad Pitt didn't do anything.
No, well, he threatened to beat the guy up. He like got into a confrontation with him.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a slight confrontation, but we're talking about Brad Pitt, an actor, versus Harvey Weinstein, a guy who could literally blackball him from the industry.
Well, and that's why I kind of give Brad Pitt a lot of credit there, is because, I mean, when it happened, it was relatively early in Pitt's career. So, like, doing that's a big risk right there. I mean,
and that's the thing, is that there are so many people who apparently refused, and who knows who they are.
Right.
Because they never got famous. The people that went with it are the ones that got famous. So we're talking about people like Angelina Jolie, Gwyneth Paltrow, Rose McGowan, which we're going to get back to Rose in a minute, Ashley Judd, Rosanna Arquette, Heather Graham, Louisa Getz, Ambra Gutierrez, Tommy Ann Roberts, Catherine Kendall, Judith Godrèche, Dawn Donning, Lucia Evans, Laura Madden, Asia Argento, Lauren Sylvain, Mira Sorvino, Emily Nestor, Emma DeCons. Do I need to continue?
Please don't. I honestly don't like the guy.
This is someone who has done this. This is not like an incident. This is decades.
Mm-hmm.
Decades
I heard
of this practice.
That he I even heard something that he like physically abused his brother too, and like just
I don't know about that, but
I heard about it just today. I saw it on, I can't remember what site on Facebook, but it was like a reputable source. The guy has like years of problems and serious problems. I don't know how something like this takes forever to get out.
Because he was just so powerful.
Well,
this has been something.
I mean, something got out on the president within a couple months or years of it happening. I mean, this is like.
But the
decades.
thing is, this is one of those things that people say everybody knew. Like if you actually look it up, 2012, When Seth MacFarlane hosted the Oscars, he made a joke about it. Everybody knew. But when you're that powerful, nobody says anything.
I get, and I hate that so much.
You know,
because I'm more vocal about stuff. Like, if something wrong happens, I'm gonna let you know about it. You know, I don't get how stuff like this can get away, and I feel horrible for the victims because I mean they're in such a position. Like, if they say anything, your careers very very well could be over.
And to understand, I mean, look at things like the fact that he was part of the Academy Awards so often. If you're a director, and you know Harvey Weinstein, one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, is also one of the chairs of the Academy Awards, you know, and you obviously want your movie to get nominated for the Oscar. Are you gonna want to hire an actress that he doesn't like?
Right.
And so it's just he's so all encompassing, and it's just crazy how powerful this man is. Rose McGowan, she actually was one of the people he reached settlements with a lot of these women. And Rose McGowan took $100,000 because, again, you know, she could talk, but nobody cares about her. Therefore, no one's going to listen. You know, it's Harvey Weinstein versus some unknown actress. So might as well take a settlement, honestly, because if you speak out, you're just going to lose your career anyways. And you're not even famous enough for anybody to care about it, so for it to even stop. But Rose McGowan, she was banned from Twitter for 12 hours after posting about this. And a lot of people thought, oh, well, this is just Twitter's liberal bias, things like that. And I do want to clear the air. I have a lot of problems with Twitter. But she was actually banned. She was actually temporarily suspended for violating their terms of service because one of the tweets that she had, that she tweeted an email, and it actually had someone's personal phone number on the bottom of it. And so that was what it was, you know. And but the thing is that people did know. Like, for example, people were talking about how Ben Affleck, Rose McGowan gave like pretty damning evidence that Ben Affleck knew back in 2004.
And it's always one of those things. Like, is it illegal not to say something? No, but you should do it. I mean, come on, people. If you know about like something bad going on, like some sort of assault happening or someone's being abused, step up and say something. You could save people's lives.
And that's the thing, though, is that some people did try and step up, but because Harvey Weinstein's so popular, they're so big that they were so small that no one cared.
Right.
And, you know, he's on the boards of a lot of, like, entertainment news something. So if someone reports on it, and, you know, and if he's on the board of E, which I don't believe he is on the board of E, I'm just giving an example, are they going to report about it? No. He's so ridiculously powerful that it's incomprehensible. So, now that we got that cheerful story out of the way, what's your next story?
You know, just healthcare, something that we seem to cover every single show because, you know, everything has to be messed up. But, you know, finally something actually happened this time. We can actually talk about what happened. Yes! So, President Trump signed an executive order Thursday that opens up competition between companies across state lines, something that our boy, Rand Paul, had been pushing for forever.
Can I restate that bullet point?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Dictator Trump
made that's a at the end. That's at the end. You can. That's at the end. We're getting to that part. Don't worry. By doing so, the prices should go down as there's more competition so companies can move into states. You know, just overall good stuff. Currently, over a third of counties across the United States only have one insurance provider, meaning there is no competition. You are stuck with that person. Also announced Thursday, I'm not sure this was actually signed into an order. I think it's going to be. But the plan is to cut subsidies that were designed to make insurance more affordable for low-income families and individuals. So, as you had to state earlier, killing my fire, are we okay with this order? Why or why not?
No. I am not okay with this order. I should restate. I'm okay with what this order does. I'm not okay with the fact that it was an order. Because I detest executive orders. I think they are I know they're unconstitutional.
Okay, here's where I'm going to hop in. Executive orders themselves are not unconstitutional.
Okay, show me where in the Constitution it says...
No, listen. The point of an executive order is to enforce legislation. So, in this example, I will actually agree with you. I believe that this executive order is unconstitutional. But just based on the fact that it is not enforcing current legislation.
It's creating new one.
Right. So, this is going to make me sound a little bad. I am actually okay with this order because I believe that this is going to sound really weird, and I really hope people follow along with me. By violating the Constitution, he is following the Constitution in the sense that he is returning to more free market principles, and he is taking away more legislation that happened to... He's going after Obamacare, which was unconstitutional. Don't get me wrong. I see what you're saying. This is a de facto way to pass legislation, him signing an order. But I can't really think of why people would disagree with this. I mean, it's opening competition between over state lines.
Exactly, which was why the Congress could have passed it in the first place.
Oh, you know how Congress works. I have to pack every single bill with as much pork as possible. So I'm gonna go against you here. I am okay with this order. I'm not thrilled about it. I wish it was done through Congress, but I can stomach this order. I think this, of everything we see presidents do, and this isn't just going after Trump. I mean, we've seen Bush, Obama, probably every single president passed executive orders that probably weren't constitutional. But this,
my boy George Bush, I mean, not George Bush, my boy George Washington didn't.
Well, that's a totally different debate. But
George Washington was the best president.
No, he was good, but not the best. But like overall, I just don't have a problem with it. It's, if you're going back and you are restoring free market principles via executive order and returning to the Constitution in some sense, I'm just gonna kind of let it slide. I'm not gonna complain at all. This will help people. I'm cool with it. I mean, what hopefully happens is that, you know, Congress gets together, passes a law, and then boom, the order is all good anyway. Now, go ahead and complain about it because you hate the free market.
Except because I hate the free market, I hate dictatorship. I like when laws get passed through our country, I like when they happen because, you know, our legislative branch actually passed legislation instead of our executive branch doing the legislative branch's job. And you know what? Let's have the Supreme Court start writing legislation.
It doesn't even make sense. Courts, whatever.
Well, presidents aren't supposed to either.
All right, here's what happens. The legislature writes the law, the executive order enforces the law, and the Supreme Court
interprets the law.
Correct.
I understand. I took the freaking third grade. I understand how the three goddamn branches of government work. No, what I am saying is that this is not enforcing a law because there was no law that stated.
But it's an unconstitutional law.
It's an unconstitutional law, but it's still a law. Therefore, if anything, he could just not enforce said law, not create new legislation. So, for example, if Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan wanted to start selling their coverage in Indiana, and if he were to just say, hey, I'm just not going to stop you, that is what the executive branch would do if he disagreed with it being unconstitutional. Not all of a sudden saying, hey, you can do this even though the law says you can't. Which is pretty much, I mean, that's what Barack Obama did with weed, and I thought it was great.
Wait, what? No, he just pardoned people. He didn't do anything with marijuana.
And he also, he actually commanded the DEA, which is an executive agency, he just commanded them to not arrest people for it, which is exactly what the executive branch should do in that situation of it being unconstitutional, is just say, hey, I'm just not going to enforce the law. That is the president's job, not creating a new law. Like, for example, if Barack Obama were to say, hey, I legalize marijuana, I'd be upset because that's creating a new law.
Not necessarily, because it is the executive branch's power to deschedule it. He can more than legally do that, and that's what I wanted him to do.
Yeah, absolutely, he could do that. He could have gone that route also, which would have been a great option. But he can't just say, hey, weed is now legal.
Well, right, but he can deschedule it, and then the legislature would have to come up with some sort of a plan.
Exactly, and you know, if Trump wants to do that, but this is not a conversation about marijuana. This is a conversation about insurance and about how once again executive orders strike.
I am just so happy that something actually happened. President Trump did more than a Republican Congress could do in one signature of his pen than the months and actually years that Senate Republicans have had. This was no surprise. Since pretty much 2010 when the bill was enacted, they passed like 50-something bills to like totally get rid of it. Now, you actually have the ability to do it, and you don't. So you know what? I'm going to let it pass. I don't have an issue with it. I'm cool with it.
Are you cool with terrorism?
No, terrorism's totally different. That has nothing to do with what we were discussing.
Hey, Trevor.
Yeah.
Can we do a new segment next week where we talk about who the best president was?
Yes.
Because I feel like that was something we started to talk about, and you kind of just
we're
dismissed.
gonna, next week or
we're announcing next week because of something we just decided a second ago. We're gonna do a debate on who the best president was.
Yep.
And it may be George Washington.
Well, I personally think the best was
The
Calvin
OG.
Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge.
Hey, Coolidge was cool, but my OG, GW.
Oh, dude, we're gonna debate the hell out of that. All right, are we ready for the
Thomas
next
Jefferson.
segment? I mean, Jefferson was all right. To me, he hated Native Americans a little too much.
I mean, I guess, but he was all states' rights. He supported the Articles of Confederation, which was pretty cool. But for our next story, we got California.
All right, I think California
knows how to party. California.
All right, we should stop before we get copyrighted for jamming to Tupac.
Yep, so that's why we're going to talk about how surely California's burning on the...
Dude, no. Why you got to make a terrible joke about that? There's bad stuff going on in California.
Californication. Okay, so over 221 acres have burned down, and honestly, that was as of yesterday, so it's probably significantly higher. So far, there are 35 confirmed dead, and the fires are so hot that a police chief literally said that that people are being cremated.
Jesus.
Yeah, so we maybe should have not made that joke, but as I'm just going to quote the New York Times here, so I'm quoting my sources. People have been cremated, for lack of a better term, said Sergeant Ray Kelly, a spokesman for Alameda County Sheriff's Office, which has more than 40 experts helping in forensic investigation. Any DNA that was on bones is now gone. It's been completely consumed.
That's tragic.
So aluminum has a melting point of 1,221 degrees Fahrenheit, and aluminum is right now being melted into puddles.
Wow.
So the fires are insane. They're consuming Santa Clara and Napa County. One of the ways that a lot of people actually heard of it, you may have saw the pictures, is that Disneyland, even though the fires were 40 to 50 miles outside of Disneyland.
Yeah, with like the trippy sun.
Yeah, and that wasn't sun, that was literally the fire. Even though it was 40 to 50 miles
but
away.
like the sunlight through it. Yeah.
And so it's just really, really awful. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. I mean, it was just really awful.
I mean, man, the United States is getting like hit hard by natural disasters.
California's on fire. Puerto Rico's underwater. Like, jeez.
Yeah, man.
Most of the people who have been consumed by the flames were elderly people.
Oh no.
Because of the fact that the thing is that they had nearly no warning. We're talking people were getting Amber Alerts 2 to 3 minutes before their house was on fire. There was someone who the cell towers were already burning down, so a cell signal couldn't go through, so literally police cars were driving through neighborhoods with just horns on the side of their police car just shouting, "Leave now! Evacuate now!"
Yeah, there isn't words for it. I mean, it's a terrible thing happening, and I don't really know how we can really prevent it. I mean, you could go through the global warming debate and all that, but I mean that's besides the point. I mean, these people need immediate answers. sitting here and debating about stuff that we can't change overnight isn't going to help them at all. Because right now, California is in need of a lot of help.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of people going to help right now. Some actually, for example, there was a story about how Sergeant Crumb in Napa actually was literally taking elderly people. They were saying that they didn't want to leave, and he was just kind of throwing him. He's like, "You are going to die if you stay here."
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see a pretty decent federal response as well as a state response from California. Again, as we say during most podcasts, I'm sure there'll be centers to donate to, just because, I mean, a lot of people are losing everything. Their homes are burning down, vehicles melting. It's just a bad situation, and my heart goes out to them. I mean, I have family in California. It's a beautiful state. I really hope that everyone turns out to be okay. And obviously, for the people who aren't okay, I wish their families the best.
So after that bright and cheery news story, what do you have?
The Iran deal has been terminated.
Okay.
Not kidding. It really hasn't. I'm getting into that. It just sounded like a much better thing than getting into what I'm actually going to. So, just to let you know, President Trump announced Friday that he would disavow the Iran deal and possibly leave it altogether. Our allies said that they want to stand by the deal, so we're kind of going out alone here. In order to stay a part of the deal, President Trump requested to permanently block Tehran from building nuclear weapons or intercontinental missiles. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson and Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis convinced Trump not to totally leave the deal quite yet.
Just so people that don't know who Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis is, can you please say his real name?
His real name is Mad Dog Mattis. Yeah, but and again, enacting legislation for the Senate would need 60 votes. But again, I think I want to say that we talked about the Iran deal at some point during our podcast.
I think we talked about how there was rumors about it, but it wasn't really anything that much. Plus, they were part of Trump's travel ban, and but the thing is that he didn't recertify it, which he technically needs to recertify it every 90 days. But even then, because of the way the Iran deal is, there's not really much that not recertifying it does, other than just shows that he doesn't necessarily support it. And then this is okay. So you know how you mentioned that people the other nations were choosing to stay a part of the Iran deal. Mm-hmm. When I did more research into that, it looks like it's not with the things like the Paris Climate Accords or whatever, where they really believe in the Iran deal or whatever. It just means that not supporting it would make it harder to trade with Iran, and they have a lot of valuable natural resources, things like that. So this was really more of a personal gain. But I think that that one thing this is that this is a really, really aggressive move on President Obama's legacy. Because if you remember, the Iran deal is kind of what he won the Nobel Peace Prize for.
A little bit off topic. How did he win the Nobel Peace Prize? He dropped a bomb every 20 minutes. What is peaceful about that?
Because he had drones do it. I mean, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really liked the Iran deal. It was kind of just done weird. To me, I don't actually think it legally holds up because he didn't have legislation pass the deal. So, to me, this is kind of just a fake piece of paper anyway.
That's kind of how I feel about the executive order on.
Oh my God.
Anything.
All right.
Any executive order.
To clear off the show, do you have some positive news?
I do! California again! Oh, California. You and your allowing people to knowingly transmit STDs to people. Gotta love California.
Yeah, and this is like reading this. Actually, I'm gonna let you get into it. It's your story.
Okay. So, basically, starting January 1st, it will no longer be a felony in California to knowingly expose a sexual partner to HIV with the intention of spreading the virus. Okay, so this is not about someone who doesn't know they have HIV and they accidentally give it to someone. That is not what we're talking about here. It very clearly states that this is that people who who have sexual intercourse and know that they are HIV positive, and they even say intend to transmit the disease to someone else, that is no longer a felony. It's a misdemeanor.
Okay, here's the thing. It's just HIV is not something to like mess around with. It's a dangerous disease. Now
it is.
It's easier to treat now. I mean, technology's getting better, but it's still a scary thing. I mean,
it's a thing that someone now is going to have to medicate themselves for the rest of their life, and so that's a real big life change that you are now going to have. Where it's just so upsetting, because if we were talking about someone who did not know that they were HIV positive, and they had intercourse, and it turns out that they were, then that's a whole different thing, in my opinion. But it literally says if you are knowingly trying to transmit the disease to someone else. Now, because we are trying to be unbiased, I feel like I should say what Scott Wiener and Assemblyman Todd Gloria, who drafted the bill, state on it. They suggest that because of California's current discriminatory laws, and by the way, this is quoted from the freebeacon.com, they suggest that because California's current discriminatory laws concerning punishment for those who knowingly spread HIV, citizens are purposely avoiding learning about the possibility of having contracted the virus. Basically saying, like, oh, right now, because people are going to go to jail if they purposely spread HIV to someone, people are just not getting tested because they don't want to have to be responsible for their actions.
That's stupid reasoning.
And if people are actually doing stuff like that, then they need to just oh man.
I mean, and again, this is another one of those stories that, like, there isn't a whole lot behind it because it's pretty straightforward, but it's just stupid. That's a dangerous thing. I mean, you could potentially be affecting a lot of lives by allowing this stuff to happen.
Yeah, and if someone doesn't have health insurance, which I don't care how much you try and tax people into having health insurance, it's not going to work. There are still people without health insurance. Then, it could be a death sentence.
Right.
And so, I
think that pretty much clears it up for tonight.
So, if you have any questions about this story or any of the other stories we talked about this episode, please drop them in the comments down below, either on Facebook, tweet us at The Liberty LH. Like us on Facebook at The Liberty Lighthouse. By the way, light and lighthouse is two separate words because that's how Trevor wanted it. And or drop us in the comments below. So don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, so we are starting a new segment called Parting Thoughts, where we're going to talk about things interesting from the week, whether it was something on YouTube, something in the sports, whatever it be. So Trevor, what is your parting thought?
This week is going to be on the New York Yankees. I really think that we still have a chance. This time tomorrow when you're watching it, the Yankees will be down 2-0 to the Houston Astros. But like all things, the Yankees are just a very resilient team, and I cannot wait to watch the rest of the postseason.
So my parting thought would be around some YouTubers, namely iDubbbz. Oh my god, this chair is going to drive me insane. Okay, mainly around iDubbbz and RiceGum. RiceGum, a huge YouTuber, has about 10 million, or no, now it's about 8 million subscribers because he dropped 2 million. And he was famous for doing diss tracks, things like that. And he ended up, there was a clip I saw about him. It's actually an older clip, but people kind of tended to forget about it, which he asked someone on his podcast who was a victim of rape, did it feel good though? And then he also proceeded to ask her on how long the rape lasted, in which she said about 5 minutes. And he said, oh, well, that wasn't that bad. So iDubbbz did a content cop where he basically just roasts the channel for approximately half an hour. And yeah, it's been pretty interesting. So any thoughts on my parting thoughts?
None. Besides that guy sucks, but that's about it.
Okay, so that's been it. You have a great week, and we'll see you on the flippity flop, as Michael Scott from The Office would say.